Jack is a great guy. He's written a fantastic book. Everybody's talking about it. Go get it. And he's been my friend right from the beginning of this whole beautiful event. And we're going to turn it around and make our country great again. Amen.
All right, folks, Jack Posobiec back, Human Events Daily. Ladies and gentlemen, did you know that Utah and Florida recently banned fluoride in their drinking water? Why are they doing a massive U-turn on something that's been pumped into our water for 80 years? The government claims that fluoride is for healthy teeth, but that's just nanny state nonsense. You don't need bureaucrats medicating your water. You need the freedom to choose pure water. That's why the Poso family uses Cove Pure, a countertop water purifier certified to remove up to 99.9% of impurities. That includes fluoride and other garbage like PFAs, fertilizer runoff, you name it. The first thing I notice is the taste. Cove Pure helps water to become what it's supposed to taste like. Pure, clean, no aftertaste. The best part is you can choose any temperature, hot or cold, with just one tap. It's so easy, no drilling, no plumbers, just fill it and plug it on in. Head over to covepure.com/poso. That's a limited time. You will get $200 off. Makes a great Christmas present, by the way, for the people in your family. The government has no business forcing things into your water. Don't wait for them to sort out pure water. You have to do it yourself. That is covepure.com/poso, covepur.com/poso for $200 off. All right, I'm being told that Clay Higgins is the lone holdout on the Epstein Files. Republican Clay Higgins. Not a good look, Clay. Just going to tell you, man, not a good look. Evita Duffy coming up here. I wanted to get you in on sort of the overall topic of today. I know we have about 8 minutes left. MAGA versus the theater kids. That's kind of how I phrased the episode here because, look, I'm all for people being constructive and people criticizing, but there's a place to do that. And there's also a way to run a political movement. And it seems, though, that people wanted to put drama at the front of everything. So they want to have their little drama circus. They wanted to blow this up. They wanted to say, oh, let's do this, let's do that. Meanwhile, I try to think of Charlie. I try to think of when Charlie was around, he'd pick up the phone, he would text, he would figure out every single way to do that in private. And then so that in public, what you would see and what he was fighting for was this unified front. And if there was an issue on something that come up like Israel, you have a debate. Evita, are we putting the cart before the horse? Are we doing drama at the detriment of securing victory?
I mean, yeah, the short answer is absolutely. I mean, we have midterms coming up, and I feel like some people are forgetting what it's like when Democrats have total control. Like, they're already drafting the impeachment for President Trump once they get power again in Congress, and I hope that doesn't happen, but it might if we stop being focused, continue on this path of just infighting and drama. The other thing is there's all this pressure on the president of the United States himself, on our vice president, on members in the Trump administration to weigh in on all this drama. And they're forgetting that the second President Trump leaves office, President Trump, as well as everyone who worked for him, is going to be targeted by potentially a Democrat administration. This is what President Biden did, and you can bet that it's going to be 1,000 times worse under another Democrat administration. This is how they play the game now. So if we're not focused on victory, we are instead promising our own destruction. I think it's very short-sighted, very stupid, and it's especially stupid from people that are supposedly movement-driven who are leading us down this path of just distraction.
Well, and it breeds deactivation as well, right? Because suddenly you're saying, oh, well, this guy's not based enough, this guy's not good enough, this guy's not going hard enough or whatever. So you think it's edgy and cool, right, to stay home and deactivate and not come out and vote. And then the Democrats win and we all end up in the gulags and you can be like, see, I was right. Okay, cool. But guess what? You're going to be in the gulag too. Like, I don't really understand that way of thinking. And I guess it's very short. It's just very short-sighted. It's so incredibly short-sighted. You've got to focus on the big victory. Doesn't mean you're not going to have, family feuds, family disputes. Absolutely, but you keep it in the family because at the end of the day, we are up against billionaires who want us all in prison or dead. And if you don't believe me, go look at how they reacted to the murder of Charlie Kirk.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, it's incredible to me. And to his credit, President Trump has been focused. I mean, he was questioned on, will you disavow Tucker Carlson for having a conversation with someone? And President Trump said, no, I'm not going to do that. I've been on Tucker Carlson's show. He's a good guy. I like him, whatever. Let's move on. That should be the tone everybody's taking right now. There is just a lack of focus, and it's going to be, I think, a major mistake.
No, it would be an absolute mistake. And honestly, it goes back to me thinking when in the Russian Civil War, when that broke out between the final elements of the Imperial Russian Army under General Wrangel and the Bolsheviks, the literal actual Bolsheviks, the White Army versus the Red Army, that they broke down into infighting. They couldn't decide on who was going to be the leader, and some of them started getting picked off, and some of them started losing. It took some L's here, took some L's there. And rather than actually unify together and fight back against the Bolsheviks, who were literally killing their families, they rather fought one another until they got to the point where the Bolsheviks completely swept over power and took over the entire country. I mean, I can't think of anything that's similar to that. Can you?
No, and I think the worst part, Jack, is that we've seen an excellent example of what the left is capable of, and that is the murder of Charlie Kirk. In the wake of his death, it should have been a wake-up call that, okay, we all need to unite. Like, that's what the enemy is, not just the radical furry, lover of a furry who murdered Charlie Kirk, who has they, them pronouns in his bio, but all of the Democrats who celebrated his public slaughter, his live streamed slaughter. You didn't walk away from that scene and say, okay, now it's time to unite and actually fight. Instead, we've seen so many Republicans get mad at other conservatives for having conversations. It's outrageous. And the craziest part is that these are Republicans who are willing to have conversations with radical leftists who, again, want all of us dead, but somehow the line is crossed and we're having conversations with conservatives. It's ridiculous. It is asinine. And it's a losing strategy.
No, and you really wonder if there are people who just want to lose, like maybe, talk about different fetishes, I suppose. But you've got the furries, you've got humiliation, you've got all the rest of it out there, and it's disgusting. And at the same time, and by the way, I've even seen a video where I spend all last week talking about this furry fetish and the transism, genderism of Lantz Twigs. And then it comes out that there's other elements perhaps tied to transgenderism or at least gender ideology and furry websites of President Trump's original assassin, Thomas Matthew Crooks. And then people say, oh, well, you're not talking about my pet issue, so you must be covering it up. I'm like, no, I'm just following the evidence.
Yeah. Well, and Jack, I mean, one of the most disturbing, you shared a video on your X feed from Turkey Tom where he broke down this Thomas Crooks assassination attempt on President Trump. Who was this kid? Finally, we have some, I'm sorry, it was not Thomas Crooks. It was Lance Twigs. Yes, I'm sorry.
And Twigs, yeah.
Yes. So his parents.
Evita's like, there's just too many furries. There's too many furries and too little time.
Not Thomas Crooks. This was about Lance, that his parents
surrounded
had kicked
by
him out
furries.
Allegedly because they thought he was possessed by a demon, that some of his friends had said when he's laughing and pointing to these bizarre conversations with Chat GPT in Latin and Greek and weird symbols, he seems to be possessed by a demon. That to me was the most disturbing part of this case, that there is potentially a demonic element here. Actually, I think there most certainly is a demonic element here to be able to do certainly what Thomas Crooks did or what Lance's lover did, Tyler. And so it's spiritual forces as well that we need to be thinking about and fighting. And instead, Jack, we are just so distracted and disunified.
No, that's exactly right. It's 100% right. Evita Duffy, tell people where they can go to follow you for all the hottest takes on anti-communism and pop culture too every once in a while.
Evita Duffy _1 on my Instagram and X. Thanks so much for having me, Jack.
All right, make sure to go and give her a follow. Ladies and gentlemen, if there's anyone who hates communism more than me, it's Evita Duffy. Folks, that's it for us here at Human Events. Remember our email, 1776@humanevents.com. Make sure you subscribe, get the podcast so you never miss an episode. And ladies and gentlemen, as always, you have my permission to play ashore.